Heroes Forge, a Heroes of the Storm podcast.
Forgers, what is up? This is episode number 33 of Heroes Forge, a community-driven podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. This is your show host, Jeff Reynolds, and as always, I am joined by the co-host of the show, who, again, is more awesome than doing the Legion invasions in the new World of Warcraft pre-patch. It is Kristen. Ashton, hello, Kristen.
Hello, Jeff, and I'm going to assume that those Legion pre-patch adventures are amazing then, because I haven't played them yet. I'm holding back for release day.
Oh, you're kidding. It is so good. I think it's actually built to like get you into the feels for Legion. So you're saying you haven't done the Demon Hunter or anything?
Correct. I am waiting, but I did get to try the Demon Hunter back at BlizzCon, so I kind of know how it plays, unless they changed it dramatically, unless they're bunny rabbits or butterflies now or something.
They're not. I'm happy to say that they are not, and they are a ton of fun. I've been playing it with my buddies constantly, and let me tell you what, it is so fun. The demon, like we talked about in previous episodes, we're all trying to level characters to get up to that level 100 to be geared and equipped with all the knowledge that we need for when Legion comes out at the end of this month. But when this pre-patch came out and the ability to have a Demon Hunter and to jump into that storyline right where it is right now, I couldn't resist. I jumped in with my buddies and we've been having a total blast. The Legion invasions, without spoiling anything for you, are just really fun and they're crazy. I mean, tons of crazy stuff is happening. There's tons of people and they're Horde and Alliance and you're running around and it's just, it's a lot of fun.
Okay, so the pre-patch isn't necessarily a part of Legion. You don't have to own Legion to play the pre-patch stuff. You could play that if you have a character that's high enough level, yeah?
Yeah, you can, but in order to play a Demon Hunter, you do have to have pre-ordered Legion. So they released the Demon Hunter class, and you get to level it from 98 to 100, and it's the same thing that you played at BlizzCon, sort of. And without spoiling anything for anyone, it's just a really cool quest line that has some really cool moments in it. And I, again, only played WoW, vanilla into Burning Crusade. So when I'm leveling all of these characters up and doing all this really fun stuff, it's all new to me. I'm going into Wrath. I'm going into all these other things that I have never done before. And my buddies are telling me what to do. And we're running around. And it's just a really cool feeling.
It is. And to go back to the starter areas, they have put in so much work because I re-rolled an undead rogue again. And the whole Sylvanas storyline from level 1 until whenever she sets you free to go explore the world on your own is fantastic. You are given a specific alliance faction to despise.
Oh,
and then
really?
there's intrigue and you're connected to Sylvanas. So they really work to have you invest yourself wholly into one faction of your side.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm telling you, it's a little bit different in this Legion thing because I am literally sitting here, and my buddies can vouch for this, where I'm literally sitting in here going, I'm going to die going into this Legion battle, but I'm doing it anyway. And then I find myself yelling, for Azeroth, and just jumping into this battle, and you're surrounded. I just get so pumped and nerdy about it, and it's just a blast. So you got to get in there, Kristen. You got to try it because it doesn't really... It won't hurt you like in the storyline or anything to jump into this and just have a blast with, because the Legion's coming, right?
Yes. Well, we've seen the intro, right? We know Varian's going to play a big part. We know Sylvanas is going to play a big part. So that alone pulls me in. But I just wanted to make sure I wasn't going to ruin Legion for myself with this pre-patch stuff, because I always get scared,
Yeah, oh no, I know.
It's just teaser stuff.
I feel your issue there. I've had it before, but I think you can play this pretty safely, and it's a ton of fun to just jump in there. I do recommend though that you get a character that's use your level 100 boost or play the Demon Hunter stuff, because when you get in there, you just probably would get destroyed if you weren't level 100, just because there's so much going on. But that's enough about Legion. I mean, there is so much going on with that. It's just a blast. Get out there, play it. Heroes of the Storm is thriving too. I mean, what is going on with Blizzard games right now? They're all like at this point where I just want to play all of them. You know, the new hero Ariel released in Heroes of the Storm, and I've been playing her too. And then there's a new wing of Karazhan inside of Hearthstone that I really want to play. And then Diablo launched a new season. Kristen, this is like a hurricane of content.
It's Blizzard Christmas is what it feels like. But it's a smart move on their part, right? Because BlizzCon is coming early November. So why not get all of these pieces on the table to get us rehyped, reinvested, and then we go to BlizzCon to whatever it is they're waiting to share with us there.
Yeah, something is coming. Something's on the horizon. I think maybe even Gamescom sooner than BlizzCon coming up. And I think it's this next coming weekend we might get some announcements, especially for Heroes. And the way that they're releasing Heroes is just awesome. Have you had a chance to play any, Ariel?
I've played against her, I've played with her, and her ability to heal through gosh darn everything is fantastic. Frustrating, sure, if you're against her, but it's really invigorating and happy to see them release a support, no less, that is awesome.
Yeah.
And does their role and does it really well.
Absolutely. And I haven't tried. I've played her a couple of battles, and what was really crazy is the first time I played her, I was really tryharding, getting in there trying to do all this stuff, and I leveled up like 3 levels in one game. We won the game, and I had never seen it go up that high, and I wasn't on the stim pack or anything, so we must have played really well. But I felt like it was a really close game. But I took the heroic that turns the opposing hero, or a friendly hero rather, into a crystal, and then when the crystal expires, it explodes and does damage. And I don't know about you, but I'm finding that heroic is super powerful.
It's the one I see most often. I think maybe one game against her, she's taken Resurrection. But that ice one, it really is, because not only does it zone the area, but it deals damage. And the good Ariels, they'll lay it right in time, it explodes and possibly takes out a few other enemy heroes. And that alone is pretty darn powerful.
Absolutely. I think we're in the golden age of that ability right now, where people don't actually know what it does or understand what's going on. So they get close to it. They're trying to attack it like maybe it's a cocoon from a Nubarak or something that somebody's locked in and they don't know what to do. So they get close to it and then they blow up, and it's so satisfying. I think we may move away from that as we continue down the road of Ariel. People may understand that, just like Tyrael's trait, you gotta get out as soon as she starts, doing those sort of things. So, she's great. I really, really like the way she's in the game. I can't get the synergy in my mind. I haven't tried it myself yet, but of her with a Cho'Gall, I just see this synergy there where I'm like, wait a second, if that's Cho'Gall and Cho'Gall can take that one ability that turns him into invulnerable, like into a rock, and then you can turn Cho'Gall into a rock, and you're healing one hero, and then if you even take if you took the res, you're resing 2 heroes instead of 1. I just see this crazy synergy.
That would be a crazy game, because not only that, but the sheer amount of damage that Gall can put out. I mean, when I play Cho'Gall, I'm usually Gall, and I'm usually topping damage charts without even trying. So, and because her healing is based on that, you wouldn't be able to kill anyone. The fights would just go on.
Yeah, just put her little halo on Cho'Gall and get out there and battle. I got to try that at some point. Kristen, we should try that someday.
We should.
It would be a blast. Oh, so much going on. I mean, Diablo season I want to jump on. Have you had a chance to play any of the new Karazhan expansion yet?
I've watched a lot of it, mainly because that introductory video they released to introduce the night at Karazhan. Of course, I was humming the song One Night in Bangkok for the entire day that day. But the fact that they took it so wacky really just put a smile on my face, because it once again points out that the Blizzard team never really takes themselves too seriously. They're always willing to have fun.
I could not love it more that they did that. And, there are the people out there that are saying, and I was one of those people. I raided Karazhan a couple of times, and it was really hard and took it really seriously. And it's a very serious part in the Warcraft lore, right? And the fact that Hearthstone can take it and make it something completely different I love that. I think it is so funny. And the music is good. And I'm just hoping that all of the wings live up to how funny and cool I think it is.
Well, from what I've heard of the story and who tries to crash the party and all that, it sounds like it's an adventure that everyone needs to play, even if you don't really play Hearthstone much.
Absolutely. And it takes a little bit, I mean, it's just like our show where we don't take it too seriously. We're just out there forging heroes. And so let's get to it. If this is your first time listening to Heroes Forge, welcome to the show. We're so glad that you're here. If you're returning again, welcome back. We're equally glad that you've come back to listen to the show again. The way the show works is that we pick a hero from one of these amazing, thriving Blizzard gaming universes, and we imagine what that character would look like if it was in Heroes of the Storm. Kristen will build a kit. I'll build a kit, and we'll kind of just banter back and forth about what's going on with these kits and, poke fun at each other's abilities, and it's a blast. So without further ado, let's forge.
Let's forge.
Bam! This week is going to be an awesome episode. Kristen, tell everybody at home who we are forging this week on the show.
Well, this week it was decided by you, and what an awesome choice it was. Harrison Jones.
Harrison Jones. There's so much here with so little here, I think. I mean, that's why it's going to be so much fun. This is one of those heroes that we forge in the show where we kind of just pluck a character out, like when we did the Blood Imp, or a character that, has backstory, but maybe not as deep as when we do Lei Shen or Onyxia, or those characters that have lore galore, if you will. These characters, we get to kind of bend it a little bit and have a ton of fun. And I do have to give a shout out to FOTC fan who helped submit this idea to us, because this is when I saw this, I was like, we have got to do it. It's going to be Harrison Jones, and it's going to be a blast. So Kristen, fill us in a little bit about Harrison.
There we go. We are going into the lore. Archaeologist by trade, explorer by choice, Harrison Jones is the embodiment of knowledge, adventure, and discovery. Originally found in Zulaman, Jones was more than happy to join interested adventurers seeking to enter the temple. Over time, his work brought him to the ruins of Uldum during his tenure as Raider of the Lost Coffer. Following a series of adventures, including surviving an explosion by way of jumping into a chest and defeating his Nazi goblin arch-nemesis, he now serves as teacher to the hordes of archaeology students interested in continuing the pursuit of Azerothian antiquities.
Azerothian antiquities. Brilliantly said. And there is a clear and present comparison here for Harrison Jones, directly, influenced by Indiana Jones. Oh, a lot of people's, including my beloved movies, character, icon. Kristen, this is like so much fun just dwelling here.
We could have an entire episode where we talk about how amazing Indiana Jones is. And even the mention of Harrison Jones, I had to watch Raiders of the Lost Ark. I had to. And every month, it seems, I have to sit down and watch this movie. And it's funny because when I was younger, The Last Crusade was my favorite Indiana Jones movie. But as I've gotten older, Raiders has actually proven to be the one that I like more. And maybe it's because of Marion. I love Marion.
See, Raiders has always been my favorite, but I do like The Last Crusade a lot. And then, on the horizon, there's more Indiana Jones movies on the horizon. What I love about what Blizzard does with these games, and Warcraft specifically, is that they take these pop culture things, these things that are so embed in, a lot of people's lives that play these games, and they implement them into Warcraft in a weird and funny way. Harrison Jones is one of those characters, I think, that just... and Harrison even shows up inside of Hearthstone. He has his own Hearthstone card, which we'll get into a little bit later, talking about what that card does and its abilities. So, it's a big part of both of these games in a little way.
It is, and what's funny about it is they have to, of course, implement it in a way so that they don't infringe on any copyright, because Indiana Jones is the intellectual property of George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, that whole thing. But the character is such a pop culture icon that I think we all feel he belongs to us. And so that's why I think the fourth movie was just so reviled, because hashtag that was not my Indiana Jones.
Right. I'm thinking the next one might be a little closer to what we think Indiana Jones from feedback from the last film. And I believe it was Steven Spielberg that said that, he has never helped create a character before that has been so iconic that all you have to do is show their shadow and everyone knows who it is. So why not bring that into the world of Azeroth? Why not bring that into World of Warcraft and Hearthstone? And why not bring it into Heroes of the Storm, which is what we're going to do tonight. Kind of imagine what he would look like in the game. Let's start with role classifications. Kristen, what were you thinking Harrison would be in the game?
Initially, I was thinking Bruiser, but just the fact that he kills so many people, I had to switch it to Assassin.
I was initially thinking Specialist, but because he just beats up on so many people, I thought, I'm going to switch it to Assassin. I mean, that's exactly the same train of thought that I had when I picture this Indiana Jones character, or Harrison Jones rather, just beating people up. And, I imagine that he would be a melee assassin. And, I want him to have some serious burst damage as a melee assassin. So we'll get into that a little bit. But are you thinking that he's going to be auto attacks or melee attacks?
Well, of course, punches all the way, just left hooks, right hooks, just punching, kind of like the monk, except I think the punches would take a bit longer to wind up and throw in. But in that case, they would do a bit more damage.
Yeah, and it would definitely have, movie quality punch sound effect. Not like a punch sound, but the actual sound effect, you know what I'm saying? Where it's making that really cringy, cartoony punch sound.
It would have to be. I think his entire sound kit would have to be a Saturday morning cartoon, because sure, there are a lot of things that we forgive these movies for because they're not entirely accurate, but it's a fantasy movie. He finds the Ark of the Covenant and the power of God comes out and melts people's faces off. I think we can forgive cartoon punch sounds.
Absolutely. And I recently found out that there was a scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark that's actually a deleted scene, because at the end of the film, spoiler alert if you haven't seen this movie that's like, a million years old, where he's telling Marion, don't look at it, whatever you do, don't look at it. But in the movie, you have no idea how he knows that. And I recently found out that there was a deleted scene that told the viewer, like, there was some guy that told Indiana Jones, if you open it, whatever you do, don't look at it. So that's how he knows, but they took that scene out.
Yeah, it's the old man who translates the top of the staff of Ra. Apparently in that scene, he's also supposed to warn Indy, don't touch it and don't look at it.
Wow. Okay, well, that's a big part of the story that I guess we'll have to find out on this show. Congratulations, on this show you found out to not look at the Ark of the Covenant if you decide to open it. Let's move straight into traits. Let's talk about where this character would live trait-wise inside of Heroes of the Storm. Kristen, I want to hear your trait first.
Okay, so this one is built off the idea that not Indiana Jones technically always has a side companion with him throughout the series, right? So I went with random companion. And at the start of every game, Harrison Jones spawns with one of 5 random companions. If Jones dies, they don't die. Instead, they escape and they hide somewhere else until Jones is back up.
Oh.
So it's going to be the League of Explorers and then one other surprise person. So if it's Reno Jackson, that means Indy can then hold on to drops like spider gems or coins, or quests that take time to build up that you can lose on death. Those stacks are kept indefinitely. You don't lose them if you die.
Cool.
If it's Elisa Starseeker, you have a doubled range of vision. If it's Sir Finley Murgleton, when an enemy sees you because they've come into range of vision, you and Murgleton become friendly units for a brief period of time. If it's Bran Bronzebeard, you briefly he briefly stuns enemies that get too close by shooting them, and it's a long reload. This wouldn't be continual stun. And the last one was a great one that I came across this week. It would be Brody, and he wanders the map, giving sight, forever lost. He's the only one that doesn't hide when Jones dies.
So is he targetable? Like
Brody?
No.
Remember, he'll fit in wherever.
That's right. He fits in wherever he goes. Oh, this is such a cool idea. So what you're saying is that Harrison doesn't get to choose the companion that he spawns with, but it's randomly generated which one of these 5 awesome companions he gets.
Correct.
Oh, I love the random stuff. I think that's so cool. So I'm looking at all these heroes, and I love the Reno Jackson. I mean, if you pull Tomb of the Spider Queen, you better hope you get Reno Jackson on there, because you're saying that if he dies, you don't lose your stacks, like your gems don't pop up all over the place.
Correct. And the assumption being Reno is a greedy treasure hunter, not just a treasure hunter. So he'd hold on to everything pretty well, I would assume.
Oh, and Elise, you're going to double your vision there. Sir Finley Mergleton. Oh, it is such a cool idea. I'm imagining these moments, and I was playing some of these Warcraft dungeons, and some of the cool ones that you do where you're in this prison in the BC, and you're going through, and someone will come out and open random doors where random bosses spawn out and come and fight you. And I was thinking about, if I was doing this actually when it was happening, I would be thinking, oh, I really don't want that boss, or I really want this boss. This has the same feel where you're spawning up at the beginning of the game and you're thinking, come on, Reno. Come
on, Reno. And then, of course, too, I would hope then that Blizzard would give you a trait where you get stacks that are lost upon death, but if Reno is there, you still get use for him, even though it might not be a map where they drop coins or gems.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. And then if you didn't get them, you'd have to be really, really in depth at each one of these different companions, because if you didn't get the one you wanted, you'd have to switch your play style a little bit to kind of, counter what you didn't get.
Ever so slightly. Yep. And then, of course, your team would need to make sure they understand what your partner does as well, so they could potentially take advantage of it.
And then if you get Brody, it's just autopilot. Brody just runs around and you're like, okay, we're just going to do this on our own, I guess.
I would always want Brody, I'm not going to lie.
Oh, Brody. Marcus Brody. Cool. Let's talk about my trade over here. It's called You're a Professor? Harrison Jones is known for his archaeology throughout the world of Azeroth. In Heroes of the Storm, he would be a burst assassin that deals large amounts of damage to an enemy through melee attacks. His trait focuses on his most iconic feature, his hat. While Harrison has his hat on, he deals a significant amount of damage to all enemy heroes that he attacks. If an enemy hero stuns Harrison, his hat falls off and is placed on the battlefield. Harrison will see a dramatic decrease in damage dealt while his hat is missing, and will need to be near it and channel a 2-second ability to place it back on his head.
That's fantastic! That is so cool. Okay, so would the hat be able to be kicked around the battlefield?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe. And then maybe you would trade into where it couldn't be. Like at the beginning of the game, maybe you could kick it around and kind of put it in other places. Although I don't want it to. I really want to see both sides of this, so that if you see the enemy team pick Harrison, you're thinking, okay, we need stuns. We got to get stuns. Or if you're on the friendly team and you're going through a draft and you have the last pick and they have no stuns or very limited amount of stuns, you're thinking, this is a great pick for Harrison, because Harrison will get out there and he won't lose his hat and he'll do significant amount of damage. So I want him to have to choose to go and pick it up because it's worth it, out on the battlefield. So maybe kicking it around is tough, because I don't want the enemy team to just put it, where he couldn't get to it in a way that wouldn't be fair.
Exactly. Now, if it's missing for a certain amount of time, would it respawn somewhere where he could easily get it?
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe that's just part of the game then. You know, his hat falls in a lane and then the enemy team's like, we got to guard that hat. He can't get to it or we're going to have some serious, damage coming from him. So they guard it for a specific amount of time. Then he finally can get down to it. Or, if a tribute pops or something, he got time to run up and get it before going there. I really there's so many scenes, countless scenes in Indiana Jones, which I know this is Harrison Jones, but still so many scenes where he's reaching through, grabbing his hat, pulling it out. It's the most iconic part of him, so I had to build the trait around that.
That is probably the coolest way I could have thought of, and I didn't even think of that, but you're right. His hat is extremely iconic. We see his shadow, even in that first scene in the first movie. He risks his arm to get the hat. So the fact that you implemented it into his trait, no less, that's so awesome.
Yeah, I hope it would work out. I don't know. We'd have to see. It'd have to be balanced. And again, maybe this is another one of our heroes that we're forging here where it's not time for Harrison in the Nexus right now, but maybe there would be a time in the future where, stuns aren't ruling all the games, or, there aren't that many characters with stuns in the game, in comparison to, the 300 characters that we had, and Harrison would be a good pick. But I could definitely see where, there are so many stuns in the game right now that it would be kind of tough to work around this for Harrison. Let's start talking about mounts and what mounts we think Harrison would ride, or a specialty one that would come in a bundle if you bought him on Battle.net. I'm saying that he's definitely going to ride a mini Zeppelin over here.
Perfect. Now, would he straddle the top of this mini Zeppelin?
Absolutely.
Or would he kind of like get on the little bottom car of the Zeppelin?
I think he's on top. And I think that every time he mounts, this is going to be like a comedic kind of thing in my mind, just like the treasure goblin when Leoric is riding that treasure goblin, he jumps on it and he's definitely got to look at the heroes around him and go, no ticket. That's what he's got to say.
Nice. Maybe there's always a Nazi on there that he's got to go off.
Oh man, mini Zeppelin. What were you thinking?
I'm going with a motorcycle with a sidecar.
That was my second choice. Now, this is what I was teetering with that sidecar. Can someone ride in it?
That is the question. I automatically want to say yes. Why would you have an empty sidecar without someone in there with it? But at the same time, with my trait, there would always be somebody with Jones, so the spot would be filled.
That's right. Okay, then the sidecar fits. Perfect. And if you took that over on my side, I definitely think someone would be able to ride in it, which is kind of... I didn't know that in World of Warcraft, back to World of Warcraft quickly, that the other characters can ride the druid when they're in the... when the druid is in their form, which is mounted, right? I didn't know that, so I think that's the funniest thing, just like hitching a ride on one of your druid buddies as they're riding through and making them do all the work while you're over on Wowhead on the other screen, like looking up where we're going and what we're doing. So that's the same kind of feel.
It's great, though. It's like hitting follow, though, too, in World of Warcraft, where you're like, I got some Minesweeper to play or Bejeweled on this side here, so you just keep running. We got a ways to go. I'll just follow you. I'm no good at this navigating the landscape anyway.
Or I just want you to do it because I don't feel like doing it. That's more what I was feeling when I was jumping on my buddies that were mounted as druids. Great. Let's get into some basic abilities here. Kristen, hit us with your first basic for your assassin version of Harrison Jones.
Literally, this one's called Punch. And unlike his normal basic attack punches, this one deals massive damage and stuns the enemy hero or the enemy unit hit for a brief period of time.
All right, so we're just wailing back and giving him a knuckle sandwich, right?
Exactly. We're talking huge wind up and then let her rip.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that you're thinking the same thing I am with this ability for you, is that there's got to be an animation added to the enemy hero that gets hit where they actually look like they're taking a punch. Like maybe they because that's the stun part, right? So maybe they flail in the direction that they got punched and like look over their shoulder or something.
That's perfect. So what if then they get hit, but they do that little twirl on one foot,
yeah.
And the time it takes to complete the twirl is the length of the stun.
Genius. That's such a great idea. And what is more iconic, again, than the punch of Indiana Jones? Even when he's up against, dire odds, he decides to punch this massive, mechanic guy that's working on the airship out there. He still goes for it.
Well, sometimes you got to know your limits, and Jones apparently doesn't have any limits. But, Jones is a man's man, right? He doesn't use weapons when he doesn't have to. He would rather beat you fair and square. I'll use that loosely, though.
Yeah, very loosely. Cool. My cue over on my side is called Keep Calm and Carry a Whip. Cracking a whip skill shot that shoots straight out in front of the Harrison player. All enemies that are hit with this ability are disarmed, quote unquote, blinding them from using auto attacks for a short amount of time. Only one hero can be hit with this ability at a time. So basically, this is just drawing from those moments in Indiana Jones where he cracks that whip and it goes out and grabs the gun off of somebody and pulls it off, which is definitely not practical. Or like goes and does some other thing, and he's just cracking this whip all over the place. And again, a super iconic thing for Indiana Jones, right?
It is. Okay, and so this also plays into his Hearthstone card, because his Hearthstone card, he can destroy a weapon. Now, I don't think in Heroes you should be able to destroy anybody's weapon, but I think the disarm is a great middle ground, because we already have blinds. So why not have something called disarm that works pretty much the same?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the same exact thing I thought. So in Hearthstone, when you play this card, takes their weapon away. So in Heroes, when you play this ability, it takes their ability to attack away for a short amount of time. Again, it's a skill shot, and it's no different than, these other abilities that we see out there that blind heroes. And maybe it's something that you take against, these melee heroes that are coming at you. And as they're coming at you, you crack your whip and you hit them and they can't attack you for a short amount of time. That was my thought.
I love it. I love it. Oh, I'm having a hard time finding words for this episode because of how exciting this character is to me and how much this whole franchise means. So if I stumble and make weird noises, it's only because my level of excitement is so high that I'm finding a challenge putting words to the emotion I'm feeling.
Absolutely. No, I'm just as excited. And like I said at the beginning of the show, the crazy part about this is that this character, yes, lives in Warcraft. If you go and you look at this character's quotes, they are almost identical quotes with just a few words changed from Indiana Jones, which is why we stray, towards the Indiana Jones, because the lore of Harrison Jones is not super well developed in Warcraft. So we're here thinking, well, if he's like Indiana Jones, which he clearly is, then he'd do these things.
Might as well make it. And I mean, it's clearly a thinly veiled reference. You got to avoid copyright laws. So I don't think there's a problem building Indiana Jones, but it's actually Harrison Jones.
Absolutely. And we're tipping our cap to Hearthstone with this last ability, saying that you can disarm someone. Let's get into the next ability. This next one is called Bad Dates. And this was actually submitted to us by a listener. Mania88 submitted this to us. And with Bad Dates, it's a cone ability that causes Harrison Jones to toss poisonous dates at enemy characters and cause them to take damage over time and also take more damage from the Harrison Jones player. So it's pretty powerful, and this is where I was thinking that we would make that switch to a burst melee where you're going to do some serious damage. Now Harrison's going to be, he's an old guy, so he's going to feel a little, squishy if you're playing Harrison. So that's where we're going to make that sacrifice, is that he has that same burst DPS squishiness like a Li Ming or a Jaina, but he can do some serious damage, and this one is just, tossing those poisonous dates like from Raiders of the Lost Ark and doing some damage there.
And I really like this one. Now, visually, I know a lot of the burst people throw things forward. However, since it's the dates, are we looking at a different type of animation where it goes upward in an arc and then down?
Absolutely, because that's another part of the film where, they're throwing the dates up into the air, and just before he eats it, Sala catches it and says, "Bad dates." That's the moment I'm thinking. So how cool would that be? I love that idea, Kristen, where you're taking these and you're kind of arcing them up, and so it gives a different a different kind of feel than a normal skill shot, and it gives the enemy a different kind of feel for how and where they have to dodge.
Definitely. Now, when you throw this out as a burst, will dates automatically lock on to specific heroes, or will it kind of be like Jaina's ice fall ability where they can move out of the way?
I think let's make it so that they can move out of the way.
Okay.
Because if you think about these other burst abilities like the orb and the blizzard and those abilities that do some serious damage, you always have the opportunity to, not that I ever take it in the Bronze League, get out of the way of these abilities. So I'm thinking with bad dates, you'd be able to get out of the way, but if you don't, it's going to do some damage.
Nice.
Cool. What are you thinking for his next basic?
We're going back to your first basic, except mine's simply called Disarm. Using his whip, Harrison disarms the target enemy, heavily reducing their damage.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think that would be something... It's just very clear and obvious to both of us, obviously, that this would be something that would have to be put into a Harrison Jones. With the Hearthstone card, with the film, that's where they're drawing this from. So with yours, though, you're saying that they get like a debuff.
Yeah, I guess because I reduced the damage instead of blind. I see exactly what you're saying. Yes, because I would still imagine the enemy hero would have their fists, and maybe they could hit with their fists for a brief period of time. Yeah, so it would be more of a debuff.
No, I like that. It's cool. So they're kind of disoriented from getting hit with this. And then hopefully if once you disarm them with your W, you come up to them with the Q and you just smash them right in the face with the knuckle sandwich and they just go over and they're stunned. And then, I mean, that's assassin to me.
Yeah, and single target assassin, unlike the burst that you have going on.
Yeah, which is really cool, though. I mean, I love that debuff because, again, it has the same kind of feel that we were talking about before. Let's get into these third basics here. Kristen, what's your third basic ability?
This one I'm going again with more whip. So this one's called Rope Swing. Harrison uses his whip to catch on a tree branch or rafter above in order to swing into battle. If he hits an enemy hero, he knocks them down, stunning them and dealing damage.
Oh, he's going in feet first, right?
Exactly. Maybe lands on top of them. Maybe he can punch down.
Oh, yeah.
After hitting them.
Oh, so cool. So he just kind of cracks his whip up, grabs onto something, and then he comes swinging in with his feet facing front and just slams right into an enemy. So are you thinking this is a multi-use ability where you could use it to escape or catch up or deal damage?
Correct. So kind of like Vala's Vault, except a bit more epic, and definitely should only be used to start fights because it's so awesome looking.
Yeah, absolutely. An engage, if you will. This would be the awesome engage, and I can only imagine him swinging in and doing some serious damage with his feet. Just an awesome image. My ability is very similar to that one. Again, we're on the same page here. Mine's called Toss Me the Whip. And Harrison Jones cracks his whip up into the air and swings a good distance forward. This ability works like a combination of a Muradin Dwarf Toss and a Sonya grappling hook. He will swing in the air and is able to travel over map obstacles. This will have a short cooldown and give the Harrison player the feeling of being able to swing often. So a little different than yours, because I was thinking that he would be like, cracking this whip and swinging all over the battlefield. And yours is more focused on dealing damage, right? And also using it in these epic battle moments.
Yes, and that's such a great take on the whip, because I think we all can agree that he needs to be able to swing on his whip. But that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be for damage. The mobility thing is incredible because that first scene in the movie, he's not using it to hurt anybody. He's using it to get over a crevice.
Yeah, and that's another great scene in that movie. I need to watch it again. It's very iconic again, this whip action going on. And I want him to be able to escape over over these walls, over these trees and bushes and things like that. Because when I'm watching esports, those are the moments where I look at these players and, Nubarak tunnels underneath this stuff, where I'm watching this game and I'm thinking, there's no way he's going to get out of this. He's cornered. There's no way he's out. And he knows, or he or she knows, that the place that they're standing, they're just going to go straight under and be able to come up on the other side. Your whole team's over there, and then you're going to wipe the enemy team. And that's not a way that I usually think when I'm playing the game, so I'm always taken aback by how awesome those moments are, and I wanted Harrison to have that.
Falstad too. That's another character that has one of those incredible escapes that they pull it off, and it's mind-blowing that heroes are even capable of such feats of do and daring.
Absolutely. Oh, those are some awesome basics. Can't wait to get into the best part, which is the heroics. But before we do, we have a bunch of people that we need to thank. Thank you everyone that's given us a 5-star rating on iTunes. It really helps the show grow. Make sure that when you leave us a 5-star review that you put a little note in there so that we can give you a shout out on the show, because it's awesome to thank you guys for supporting us. And speaking of supporting us, we do have a Patreon page, which is a website you can go to help support the show and help us grow. It's patreon.com/HeroesForge. Over there, we want to thank the patrons that are currently supporting us and everyone that will go over there and help. We have a ton of awesome goals that we're working towards this year. We've been going for more than half a year with this show every single week. But that's not enough for us. We want to start bringing you more episodes. We want to start doing more things and getting the community more involved in what we're doing. So head on over there to patreon.com/HeroesForge to help support us and the show. Kristen, let's get into it. Let's talk about these heroics.
Heroic.
All right, I got to start with mine because mine's really crazy and I don't even think it would work, but we've got to fix this somehow and come
Jeff,
up
it'll
with
work. Believe in it. It will work.
We gotta find a way to make this work, because it's called You Have Chosen. When the Harrison player selects this ability, 2 chalices appear on the battlefield near him. Harrison then selects one of the chalices, giving him a random 50-50 chance to gain a massive damage increase. If he chooses poorly, he will take a 50% damage to his health, but will be able to choose between 2 chalices again. If he chooses wisely, he will gain the buff, but if he chooses poorly twice, he will die and then go on his death timer. In order to make this ability worthwhile, the buff he gets would need to be a super significant, massive increase to his damage. So, because you're basically rolling the dice before you decide to get this buff,
This is so cool. So going off of Jones' lore here, would he have a chance to deduce the correct one? Would there be hints pointing toward which chalice is actually the chalice of a carpenter?
Yes, but I'm thinking level 20. Like, I'm talking level 20 here, so you get that storm talent, and it is, helps you choose which one of the chalices is the right one. Which one is this holy grail? And, I really want it to be significant to where you go into this thinking, okay, we're just about to hit a team fight, add a tribute. I'm going to pick a chalice. Oh, I picked wrong. I'm going to pick again. Oh, I'm dead. And that's a huge downer for your team and a big deal. But if you pick right, then you're a force to be reckoned with.
Certainly. And of course, I would assume then that once you set this in motion, you cannot back away. You have to choose the chalices until you're either dead or you're buffed. Now, is this a permanent buff too?
No, it's just one of those, lasts for a short amount of time. You drink that, what would it be called? Like the elixir of life or whatever it is that makes you live forever. But then as soon as you walk over the seal, all of the effects are lost, that kind of thing, where as soon as you drink it and as soon as you get this power, you have it, but only for a limited amount of time.
Oh my goodness. Now, what if we go back to the whole seal on the ground, where when you have the chalices out, there's a seal placed on the battleground, and you have your buff, but as soon as you cross the threshold, it's gone.
I love that idea, because then you might have to choose to make this decision inside of a battle rather than before the battle happens.
Yeah, and the enemy team would know too. Would they push, or would they decide to just be zoned out?
Ooh, Kristen, that's such a great idea. And I just love that seal, of the Grail Knights on the ground. But of course they'd have to change it to something like, the Stormwind Knights or something like that on the ground. Oh, such a great idea. A cool idea, because that's just another part of those films that gets to me, that moment. But what were you thinking for his first heroic?
This first one I'm calling Fight Me. And so for a period of time in an area surrounding Jones, all enemy heroes within that area must target him. If they do, and Jones lives through this ordeal, he can then choose to shoot and immediately kill one of the enemy heroes that was caught within this area.
Oh, another thing I really wanted to put in here, because this is clearly a tip of the cap to that moment where he kind of just goes and shoots the guy that does the whole flailing of the sword thing, right?
Exactly. And I'm loving the fact that these two builds, we've taken different moments to implement into these builds. I mean, of course, we've got whip stuff that's been shared, but the key moments that we each love have really kind of given these two Harrison Jones very different feels, and it's perfect.
Yeah, it's really good. So I like this. Now, your healer's got to be on top of this pick, right? Because you got to live through that.
Absolutely. I mean, and potentially you could use it to gank somebody. So say there's someone who's half health and it's just you up there with them. You could get them into that zone. Yeah. Force them to fight you. And then, of course, since they're lower than you, if you don't kill them in that zone, you immediately pop them when it's done.
Very cool. So they still have the opportunity to run away?
That's a good question. I want to say no, but at the same time, maybe that's a level 20 talent.
No, I like that. You can't run. You can't, so if he pops this, and you just can't get out of it. So you can start running all you want, but you're not going to, stop it from it getting you at the end if you don't take him down.
That's a good point, where it's a global shot. Yeah, that could work. So you could run, but maybe you're the one he targets.
Yeah, that's pretty heroic, though. So I like the thought that you had about level 20, where you just can't run. I mean, that sounds like a storm talent to me, but still, the feel of that level 10 is definitely Indiana Jones. Very cool. Harrison's turning out to be pretty awesome, and this last heroic of mine is kind of funny and weird. It's called Boulder Chase. What would Harrison be without a boulder ability? And this is just that. A boulder is summoned behind the Harrison player and travels quickly towards Harrison. The boulder's direction is controlled by the Harrison player, depending on the direction that they run away from it. If the boulder hits an enemy hero, they are stunned in place and take damage. The boulder will roll for a good amount of time during this ability, damaging and stunning heroes in its path. If Harrison is killed while the ability is active, the boulder will run just in a straight line until it expires.
That's great. You and Kyle think very much alike. He suggested something very similar to this.
Oh, really?
It's so awesome. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm picturing him just running, and it could never hit him, obviously, but he's running with this boulder behind him. And, this is a really good thought, where you got to really think about your positioning here and when you use this ability, because you're going to run yourself straight into the enemy team, hopefully stunning them. But if they happen to dodge, then you're going down.
Probably. Now, what happens if they root you or they stun you in place?
Oh, maybe then the boulder runs over you and then just goes in a straight line. So, it runs over you, it stuns you, but it doesn't, you're already stunned. So it just keeps going in a straight line. So that would be a good counter for that. If you see, some of these heroics have counters. When you see that divine palm, don't attack that hero, don't kill it down. When you see those Diablo circles or, glyphs show up on the ground, you better get out of that glyph. So maybe this is that Harrison comparison. Where you can stun him with the boulder and it causes it to stop following him and just rolls on.
Oh, that would be nice. And also, could you use it on structures as well?
Oh, maybe if you run into a structure, then it just hits the structure, does a good amount of damage, and then disappears?
Maybe, yeah. So maybe you could dive out of the way as it's headed toward a structure, so that if you do need to get rid of it, it can at least do some damage to something else if it can't hit a hero.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there. There's a lot to go off of this, but I wanted to have that feel of the boulder somehow. Or I was thinking some sort of heroics where there's, stuff caving in from the ceilings or crashing down. But I want to hear your second heroic before we move on.
Okay, this one is called Don't Look at It because I love the Ark of the Covenant scene. Love it. So having seen the destructive force of the Coffer of Promise, Jones doesn't activate this weapon lightly. But now he is forced to take desperate measures. Jones has no choice but to call forth the ancient secrets of the coffer. Airdropped in, he kicks off the lid, and he and his teammates shield their eyes as all enemy units facing the coffer are shocked with golden electricity, dealing massive amounts of damage.
Love it. And I just love the way you described how it comes down. So it gets airdropped in. And are you thinking it's dropped in by like a World War II B-52 kind of bomber looking thing that comes and just drops this thing in? Or are you thinking like a helicopter or what?
Oh, I think if we're going to go with planes, I want that little airplane he rode in at the beginning of the first one to get away with the snake. That little water dinghy.
Yeah, absolutely. What's its name? Jacques? I think
the pilot's name. Yeah, so maybe it's driven by Jake.
Yeah. I hate Snake, Jacques. I hate him. Absolutely. Okay, so the water dinghy brings it in, drops it down. He's got this. I mean, your Harrison is so cool with these badass, like, punching abilities. He's going to kick the lid off this thing. It's going to shock everybody. So are they stunned, did you say? Or are they just taking damage?
They would. He's got a lot of stuns, doesn't he? But yeah, it would be because, I mean, when everyone's shocked, they kind of stand there shaking a little bit as the power courses through them. So it wouldn't be a long one, but as long as the power is going through them, I guess they're stunned.
Okay, so tell me this then. If they are killed while this ability is happening, do they melt?
They would have to. I think that's one of those written contractual obligations. When you look at the Ark of the Covenant, your face has to melt. But if you're the leader of the group, you explode instead. So if you're the tank and you die.
Absolutely. The contractual obligations for our copyright infringement of Indiana Jones as Harrison Jones. So many contracts floating around here. Nobody knows what to do. Oh, those heroics are just really, really fun and true to Indiana Jones. And, bringing Harrison Jones even more to life in Nexus than he has been. Let's talk about some really funny skins or some crazy stuff that would happen if they added some crazy skins. Mine's not that crazy, but I want to see like Harrison Solo, or I want to see, Han Ford. I want to see Han Ford. That's what I want. I want Han Ford.
Han Ford works. Now, would he come with the companion at that point? Or would it just be his rogue days before Chew Baker shows up?
Chew Baker? Munchbaka or something like that? Yeah, it would be before, unless it's a skin for your kit, and then obviously it would be all of these Star Wars heroes as his companion. So same buffs as all of your ideas there, but maybe it was C-3PO, R2-D2, or Chewbacca.
Or your mount would have to change too, because it couldn't be a Zeppelin anymore. It would have to be a Millennial Falcon.
Falcon, because it's from the Legion, so it's a Falcon.
Oh my gosh, that's perfect!
Oh man, we should really get paid to do this. This is
Seriously.
really good.
Blizzard! Where are our checks, man?
Absolutely. What were you thinking for a specialty skin?
I wanted his Nazi uniform, the too small one that he puts on after getting off of the U-boat there.
Okay.
I love that scene. It's
very small for him. So I had a thought about this as you said that. So at the beginning, if you choose him to be in this uniform, at the beginning, I think you should spawn. And as you spawn, you're in your normal Harrison Jones uniform. But somebody walks by you in that uniform and you punch them and pull them around the corner, and then you come out and you're wearing that little thing. Maybe that happens in like the first 10 seconds of the game.
Perfect. As soon as you spawn in your starting area, it's got to play out. Oh my God. Yes. Yes.
Yes, and that's how you get that uniform on, which is clearly too small for Harrison Jones. And I mean, that's very funny. There's a lot of really great stuff in here. I think after that, we can definitely say that this hero was forged.
HeroesForge.
You know, I'm surprised. We built two of these characters of Harrison Jones that are both assassins, both doing some serious damage based on these character that is based on a character that we all love and know so well, but they're very different builds. I mean, over on Kristen's side, being able to have this random companion, you know, on HeroesForge, we love this RNG stuff where you're pulling out one of the fellow League of Explorers members out and they're fighting with you, doing really cool things like giving you the ability to hold on to objectives if you capture them, like the coins, or, you know, giving you extra vision and so on and so forth. Riding with a motorcycle and a sidecar over in Kristen's build, giving that really cartoony Indiana Jones punch with your first basic ability, going into using the whip and then swinging on the whip, forcing people to fight you with one of your heroics, and then of course calling down Jacques and the water plane to drop the coffer of promise onto the battlefield, kicking the lid off and doing some serious damage with that, you know, I guess it would be holy damage on all those characters that get stunned and shocked by it. On my side, thinking a little differently, which is what was surprised me, still being this, you know, burst assassin where your trait allows you to do more damage once you have your hat on your head. You're gonna ride a mini zeppelin, keep calm and carry that whip, which we both thought was the same kind of idea with being able to disarm people, pulling that directly from Hearthstone, throwing some bad dates out there to poison and hurt enemy players, and then being able to do a little whip swing and then choosing a chalice as one of your heroics to power you up, but you got to make that choice. And then what would it be without an awesome boulder chase?
It wouldn't be Harrison Jones is what it wouldn't be. That's for sure. And I love I think yours is actually much closer to the Harrison Jones characters of Warcraft because it's got that flair. I don't want to say wacky because wacky just makes it sound cartoony because it's not. It's got the soul. It's got the character there, but it's fun. It's fresh. And like throwing dates at people. That's hilarious. And it would totally work. I would not put Harrison Jones above throwing poison dates at people to damage them.
No, it's got a kind of a pirate feel to it, like doing whatever it takes to win the battle, you know? I think I feel that when I watch those films, or, you know, when I see that, and he's clearly standing in front of a classroom saying that, you know, if you think archaeology is about getting out in the field, I was like, well, it's 70% being in a classroom. And I wanted to call one of my other abilities the other 30%. Because you're out there and you're fighting, you're battling, you're doing this crazy, and I think wacky is a really good way of saying it. So this character was a blast to forge. Thank you again to FOTC fan who sent in the idea that we should forge this character. I think we had a ton of fun with it. All right, Kristen, I think we're going to call the show there. Why don't you tell everybody out there where they can find you in the interwebs and all your content?
Everyone can find me over at Dream Destroyer. That is DRMDESTRYR over at Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube, as well as my health and fitness blog, battletobebetter.weebly.com.
And you're streaming a lot again lately, right?
I am over at Twitch every morning, Monday through Friday, starting at 9 a.m. Pacific. I am gaming hard. Monday and Tuesday, it's first-person shooters. Wednesday, Thursday, it's World of Warcraft, getting ready for Legion. And then Fridays, it's either Overwatch or Heroes.
Oh, man, tons of great games. Get in on those Legion invasions. They're so fun. I'll have to tune in to check it out. If you guys want to find me, you can find me right here on HeroesForge. We record the show every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/Amove TV because we're a part of the Amove Podcasting and Media Network. They have a ton of awesome podcasts and shows over there. on Amove.tv. Make sure you check them out. I mean, some seriously cool stuff, and we are super stoked to be a part of that community over there. We do have a website. It's HeroesForge.club. Head on over there to submit hero ideas for heroes that you'd like to see on future episodes, to submit full hero builds. We have tons on the backlog here that we're trying to get into the show that we're super excited to get on here. Send us your ideas, because every month we have a show where we feature a community forger and we forge with them on the show. Check it out. And also on the website, HeroesForge.club, you can see all of the previous 32 heroes that we forged on the show. Some killer kits. And if you're looking for a few to start on, I mean, I'm telling you, the Leopard Gnome episode is a blast. Check out Leopard Gnome. Check out Lucio. Check them all out. They're a ton of fun. Also, you can find us on Twitter at Forge Heroes. Forge Heroes on Twitter, and that's where we announce the hero that we're forging on Sunday, sometime later in the week. So you get a little sneak peek of who we're going to be forging. And also, we chat a little back and forth about what's going on in the Blizzard universes at the time there on Twitter. Also, you can check out our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/HeroesForge. Make sure you download the show on your favorite podcasting app. We're on iTunes, and if you like the show on iTunes, make sure you give us a 5-star rating. Again, it really helps the show grow. And if you'd like to support the show, again, you can do that at patreon.com/HeroesForge. And another huge thank you to our current patrons. We couldn't do the show without them. Right, Kristen?
We couldn't. We absolutely couldn't. Their hope gives us hope. Their faith is what really helps drive this. I mean, we love the show to begin with, but that just makes it even more special.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And also the people that hang out in our chat room every Sunday night at 7. A huge shout out to you guys for hanging out. You guys are rock stars. And if you do come and hang out on Sunday nights, did I say Saturday before? It's always Sunday nights. When you come on Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific, we hang out with the chat for just a few minutes after the show. So if you'd like to come and talk to us, make sure that you join in. Kristen, I think I got it all.
I think so too. This was a full episode, but a fully awesome episode.
It was a lot of fun to do, Harrison Jones. More fun heroes are on the horizon for Heroes Forge. Keep an eye on the skies. Is that something I can say? Keep an ear to your podcast.
There we go. I don't think that one's trademarked. I think we're good there.
Oh, so much trademark going on. We're calling it here. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the real world.